What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary back with another video talking about the biggest Jets storylines of the day. The New York Jets met with Malik Nabers. He shined out at his pro day earlier today. We have an underwhelming draft prediction from an NFL draft analyst, and Jim Harbaugh discusses potentially what his offensive line plan could be in the NFL draft and how that impacts the Jets. So before we hop into the video, just wanted to talk about something that's affected the local community here. You guys know that I'm from Long Island. I'm a Nassau County guy, grew up in Nassau County. And unfortunately, earlier this week, you might have seen Jonathan Diller, an NYPD officer, was killed in the line of duty in Queens. He leaves behind his wife and 1-year-old. He's from Massapequa, which is also in Nassau County on Long Island. And it's been a really big story here locally, as someone, I grew up a Nassau County guy, but I wanted to donate any revenue from this video to a cause, Answer the Call. Their mission is to help support families of New York City police officers, firefighters, Port Authority police, and EMS personnel who have been killed in the line of duty. It's something, I've done things like this in the past with other causes and charities and stuff that I believe in. I'm very lucky to have, this platform to do these kind of things. We've done, America's Vet Dogs, St. Jude, the NAACP. We've helped a lot of different causes, and with this one hits a little close to home because it's someone locally in Nassau County. And as well, I have a lot of family members who are both FDNY and NYPD, so we have an opportunity to help out. If you would like to donate as well, I'll link the charity down below in the description, but just for full transparency, any revenue from this video, I'm going to be donating it to Answer the Call to support their mission. Okay, so yesterday, the New York Jets met with Malik Nabers, who is expected to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft, probably closer to the top half than somewhere to where the Jets are at pick number 10. But he is a really exciting elite level wide receiver prospect. And man, would that be a ton of fun on this New York Jets football team. Now, I think they would have to get aggressive and trade up for him, but that's not something that I am opposed to doing. I think if, there's an opportunity for the New York Jets to trade up and target a guy like Malik Nabers, you cannot scoff at that idea and worry about, the potential down the line issues of draft capital next year, or giving up mid-round picks, whatever it is this year, to move up and get a guy of that caliber. 6 foot, 200 pounds. He's extremely explosive with the football in his hands. The Jets adding a guy like Nabers to this offense and having him on his rookie contract for 5 years and also on a cheap deal in this window with Aaron Rodgers is tremendous. And then also it helps you because when Aaron Rodgers is done, you are more than likely going to get a young quarterback after Aaron Rodgers to take over, and then you'd be putting him in a really nice situation where he has a Malik Nabers, a Garrett Wilson, and some weapons on the offensive side of the football here. So I am in on this move. I don't think the Chargers or the Giants trade out of that pick because I don't see him going past pick 6 with the quarterbacks, but I think there's probably a good chance 4 quarterbacks go, and the top 4 like quarterback, and then to me it's Marvin Harrison and Malik Nabers. That would be my first 6 picks that are off the board. So if you want him, you're gonna have to move up to get him. But again, if I'm the Jets, I would really don't scoff at that idea. If you're weary about giving up the capital, if you're weary about the offensive line, I hear you. I get it. But this guy is going to be a very special player at the next level. I would highly, highly consider going up and getting a guy like Nabers. The next thing I'd like to get into is a mock draft from NFL draft analyst Matthew Miller. He works for ESPN. And I am honestly a little underwhelmed by this mock draft. He did a 7-round mock for the entire NFL, which is crazy. So go check it out. But if you want to look at who the Jets came away with, they took Brock Bowers in the first round. That I don't have an issue with that. Of course, that is my favorite pick, though, of the draft. I think gets worse after that. Cameron Kitchens comes off the board in the 3rd round, the safety. Then Jamari Thrash in the 4th round, an offensive tackle from South Dakota State in the 4th round. Tanner McLaughlin in the 6th round out of Arizona, tight end. Joe Milton, quarterback in the 7th round, and Brady Latham, guard out of Arkansas in the 7th round. I don't like it. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I do like the thought of adding Brock Bowers to the offense is something that I think could be very, very exciting, but a safety after that, you could make a case that they need additional safety help, yes, but that's not the direction I would like to see them go. And then Thrash and Greenfield in the 4th round, those aren't usually guys that I would look to tend to target, and their developmental swing being Joe Milton at quarterback, I'm not a fan of him as a prospect. I think he really looked bad this year. He did not look good at the Senior Bowl in the games or the practices. He has an electric arm. He could throw the ball a country mile, but accuracy concerns are there for me. I'm not really a fan of this one. I would be pretty underwhelmed if this is the takeaway from the Jets draft, especially like if you're taking Brock Bowers in the 1st round. Why are you taking another tight end in the 6th round in Tanner McLaughlin? I don't like this one. I would have went a different direction there. It's a heavy focus on the offensive side of the ball, which is a plus, but not for me. I'm not a fan of this one. And last but certainly not least, let's listen to Jim Harbaugh's comments from the NFL owners meetings on talking about the offensive line and then how that could impact the draft coming up in a few weeks.
The offensive line to me is important. I mean, if I ask you the question of like what position group depends on no other position group to be good, but every other position group depends on them to be good, what position group is that? Offensive line. They're not relying on any other position group to be good. They go out and they're good. But yet every other position group relies on the offensive line to be good. And then the D-line, they'll be the ones that argue back. We don't need the offensive line to be good. Do you? Do you like it? Do you like when the offense has a 12-play drive?
One, I could listen to Jim Harbaugh talk pretty much about anything, but I love how he goes through and explains his take on the offensive line, and this can have an impact on the Jets in 2 ways. Number one, the more obvious is if the Chargers go offensive line at 5, how that impacts the rest of the top 10 as the New York Jets hold the 10th pick in the NFL draft. So if maybe Joe Alt comes off the board to the Chargers, what does that mean for, whether you want to look at Tennessee at 7, the Giants at 6, 8 is Atlanta, then you have the Chicago Bears at 9 before the Jets are back on the clock at 10. So if Harbaugh, who is talking so adamantly about the offensive line, wants to bring in another body and have 2 bookend tackles, you already have Rashawn Slater, who's a great left tackle. That might be an interesting way to go about it. And again, this isn't him coming out and saying this isn't a guarantee that that's exactly what they're going to do, but you're just kind of reading tea leaves and taking a look at, these guys and philosophies and looking at certain scenarios of what can unfold for the Jets just in the draft in general in the top 10. And then the second part of this is like, I don't know, maybe the Jets could apply that philosophy that Harbaugh is putting out there to himself. I know in this video we've talked a lot about adding weapons, whether it's Brock Bowers in the mock draft, which I said I would be fine with, and the thought of potentially moving up to get a wide receiver in Malik Nabers is also something that's really exciting to me. But I don't think we can scoff at the idea as well. As I mentioned, like I don't like when the folks who are so adamant about it has to be an offensive lineman scoffs at the idea of taking a playmaker, but at the same time I also don't like the thought process that it's some crazy outlandish idea for the Jets to take an offensive lineman in the first round. It's not. That guy's going to play at some point this year. They have 3 guys on their offensive line. Actually, really 4 if you want to include Joe Tippmann, which I think you should, with injury concern. So take Tippmann out because he's a center maybe, but John Simpson's pretty healthy. Left tackle, there's a reason why Tyron Smith got such an incentive-laden deal at left tackle, is because he misses time every single year. Morgan Moses has been pretty much an Iron Man for most of his career, but he had a torn pec last year that he played through. Good for him. He had surgery in the offseason, 33 years old. When he's on the field, he's a very good player, and I'm confident that he can, play a good chunk of this season, but there's potential issue there. AVT had back-to-back season-ending injuries. He's going back to guard, though, so you hope that, he stays healthy there. But, you talk about the importance of the offensive line and the need to have a good one, and the Jets very well could be injured again and don't have a ton of long-term answers, especially at the tackle spot. So, again, that's not saying you have to go offensive line in the first round. That's not what I'm saying. I think it's something that can be considered, though, and is an important position for the Jets to continue to build out their depth at, because they're going to need it. If you look over the last few years, the Jets have used a ton of offensive linemen. They used 13 last year. It's an insane amount of offensive linemen use. I don't think it's going to be 13 again, but am I going to predict the Jets are going to use like 6 offensive linemen this year? No, it's probably unrealistic. I think they probably use somewhere between 8 to 10 offensive linemen. So the Jets have to be confident with the guys that they have backing up as well. Let me know your thoughts on all of this down below in the comments. Once again, I'm Matt O'Leary. I'll catch you guys next time.